What's up everybody, Coda Collectibles here with you. I'm excited to show you my full run of 1970s Topps Carl Yastrzemski cards. And some of you may be saying, well, why would you go after Ustrimski and not some of the other guys, maybe like Nolan Ryan or Reggie Jackson? Well, I'm going after those guys as well. When I was a kid, I read a book about Ted Williams, got super into Ted Williams, all the kind of Red Sox lore behind Ted from his playing days in the 1940s. And just kind of started looking into other players who are similar to Ted. And of course, the first name that popped up was Carl Yastrzemski. So many similarities between the two players. And I honestly think that Ustrimski maybe is a little bit underrated in terms of hobby love for some of the cards in his career. Obviously, his rookies and things go for big dollars, but some of his other stuff really doesn't. And I think if you really go back and look at some of the numbers and compare some of the highlights and things from his career, I mean, he's really right up there from some of the big guys who played in the 60s and 70s. Even if you go back to and look at Ted Williams' career, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between Ustrimski's career and Ted Williams' career. You know, Ustrimski, 18-time All-Star. Ted Williams was a 19-time All-Star. Ustrimski also had an MVP. He won a Triple Crown. Ted Williams won 2 MVPs, 2 Triple Crowns. Ustrimski won 3 batting titles. Ted Williams won 6 batting titles. All the other accolades and things, there are similarities between the two of them. Obviously, Williams was the superior player overall, but Ustrimski, for the era that he played in, you know, he did very well for himself. Again, just looking at those numbers and stats and things. So I started this project about a year ago, and my idea behind it was basically, I just want to put together a high-grade run of 1970s Ustrimski cards. I didn't really know how difficult that would be until I got into it, because what I really wanted to do was to buy all the cards raw and try to get all 8.5s or above by sending in raw cards and having them graded by SGC. Of course, in the middle of all of that was all the craziness going on with the industry and grading and all that sort of stuff. So that did put a damper on some of my plans, and then also just the unbelievable difficulty of finding some of these cards in high enough grades raw to send in to try to get a high grade on. I had to change my strategy a little bit. So I'll talk about that as I go through these cards. I'll also be referencing SGC's pop report as I go through these cards. I really like SGC. I send everything that's pre-1980 to SGC. I think their rating's fair. It's very consistent. I've been very happy with it. Probably sent, I guess, over 100 slabs to them at this point, or 100 cards to be slabbed to them at this point. So let's get right into it. First up, we have the 79 Topps in an SGC 9. Very nicely centered. Really nice surface on this one. As you know, this set is almost impossible to find centered cards in. I guess you could say, lucky after a ton of searching on eBay, and bought a lot, actually, of 79 Topps Ustrimski cards from a guy. I don't know if they're a vending machine lot or a set lot or what, but this one just looked super clean to me when it came in. The only thing about it, it's a little off top to bottom, obviously, on the back, and there's one little imperfection in the cardboard there. I'm not sure if it's wax or possibly a gum stain or something like that, but other than that, the card is almost flawless, just looking at it from the front. 79 was the last year of Ustrimski's impressive 15-year run of consecutive All-Star game appearances. So he had 15 years in a row that he was an All-Star, and this was the last year that he appeared as an All-Star. From that run, he also made the All-Star team again, and I think, was it 82, 83, something like that towards the end of his career, since he was an 18-time All-Star overall. But just a cool card, something you don't see very often, especially in that grade, and I'm glad to have that in my collection. So we have the 78 Topps in an SGC 9. This is a card that I really struggled with trying to find in a high grade raw. I probably bought about a dozen of these just trying to find one that was gradable. The issue is with this set, with this card specifically, is it's almost always off from left to right. And you'll notice this one is just a little bit off from left to right, but the top to bottom centering is really nice on the front. The other thing is this set, kind of like the 76 set for whatever reason, gets a lot of print roller marks, like those weird black lines and things. So a lot of the cards have those. And honestly, most of these, just from that year that I've picked up, just have pretty rough corners on them. They may look okay from a distance or a photo, but once you get them up close, they aren't so great looking. But this one's super clean. I actually snapped this out of another company's holder and sent it in. I cannot remember offhand if it was Beckett or PSA, but I thought it looked a little bit better than the grade that it was assigned by whichever company that was, but just because of those corners. So I snapped it, sent it in, and it got a 9, so super happy with that. This also there's one 9.5 SGC, there's 10 SGC 9s, and there's 14 8.5s. If I didn't mention it, on the 79, there are no 10s, there's 6 9s, and there are 4 8.5s. So just to kind of give you an idea of the pop run. So next up we have the 77 tops. This one again is just unbelievably difficult to find centered copies of. And then to find centered copies of them with good corners is almost as impossible. So this was one, again, I bought quite a few copies of, trying to find a gradable copy of it. And eventually, I believe this was also a snap out from another company. Again, I didn't write those down, so it may have been Beckett, it may have been PSA. But I just tried to find a card that I thought looked good enough to send in to get a 8.5 or higher, regardless of what was on the other slab, whether it was BVG or PSA. So I thought this one was super clean, had good centering, had really good corners. So snapped it, sent it in, it got a 9. So the 77 in SGC has no 10s, has 9 9s, and has 13 8.5s. So most of these are pretty low pop. Next up, we have the 76 Ustrimski. Really like this action shot. It's probably my favorite photo, I would say, of all his 70s cards, in my opinion. This one's in a 9. I actually sent a few of these in and got 8.5s, and I just happened to see an eBay seller list this one in a 9, and messaged him and was able to get it at a really great price. So 76 has those great greenbacks as well, and this one's a really nicely centered copy, so glad to add it to the run. So the 76 has no 10s, 25 9s, and 28 8.5s for SGC pop. Next up is my personal favorite set of the 70s, 1975 tops. Again, I don't recall how I got this one in a 9, because I have a couple of 8.5s of it as well that were raw cards that I sent in. Okay, so this has my sticker on it. So this must have been a raw card that I sent in as well. I assume. I have to go back and check, but I know that I sent quite a few of these in, trying to get high grades on them, and most of the ones that I sent in, I did get 8 or above on it. So pretty good with that, with the 9. This one has nice centering, nice corners, great color, which sometimes these 75 cards can get pretty kind of faded looking, I guess. So this one looks pretty nice. So on 75, there are no 10s, 32 9s, and 45 8.5s. All right, so next up, we have the 74 tops in a SGC 9. This one is another one that's just really difficult to get centered. This one I actually picked up from someone on eBay in a 9 at a great price, but I did send in a couple of these, and I got an 8 and an 8.5 on them, so happy to have the 9 for my high grade run. And this is a really nice example, I think, of the 74 tops card. So 74 tops with SGC has 0 10s, 12 9s, and 18 8.5s. So next up is a card that has driven me crazy trying to get a high graded copy of it. So this is an 8.5. 73 tops Ustrimski. As you can see, it is a little bit off left to right. Top to bottom centering on it's really good. The back of this one is super clean, which is one of the issues with this set because of the black borders. It is off, obviously on the back left to right as well, which is pretty common with this set. But man, I probably went through 30 or 40 copies of this card just trying to find a couple that were decent to send in for grading. Most of the cards I sent in, I think I sent in about 5 or 6 to get graded, and I don't think any of them came back higher than an 8. And that was even with me snapping out another company's card and sending it in that was supposedly high grade, but SGC didn't feel that it was. So I actually ended up buying this from a guy on eBay. Probably paid a little too much for it, but it is super low pop. And this is a nice example. Great looking print on it. Again, I wish the centering maybe was a little bit better on it, but I'm very happy to have this card. The 73 Topps has 0 10s in SGC, has 0 9s in SGC, and has only 7 8.5s in SGC pop count. So super tough set to get high grade cards in. Next up, we've got another, I think, fantastic 70s set, 1972 Topps. So we have the Ustrimski in an 8.5. This was a card I actually got raw and sent in. I sent 2 of them in. One got an 8, one got an 8.5. I mean, they almost were identical, but this one did have a little bit better centering than the 8 that I sent in. So, but again, super happy to have that in the run. Really nice looking card. Great Ustrimski pose there. I guess that's probably a spring training. I'm not really sure. But anyway, the 72 Topps in SGC pop. There is actually one SGC 10. There are 5 SGC 9s. And there are 23 SGC 8.5s. So next up, we got another really tough set. 1971 Topps with the all black borders around the front that are basically impossible to get high grades in. This is a card I searched for months and months and months on end trying to find a gradable copy that I thought looked good enough to even just get an 8. And I never found anything that I thought was even an 8. One morning I was searching or had my alerts turned on for eBay. This happened to pop up and I messaged the guy and we worked out a deal for what I thought was a really great price on this card. And since it was going in my permanent PC, he was more than happy to sell it to me because it had been part of his PC for quite a while. It was in a very old SGC slab, maybe even from their first run of slabs. I can't remember. It had that crazy label, the white green label with like the textured logo in the background. But I sent this one in and got it reslabbed as soon as it came in, just because I wanted it in a little bit nicer presentation. So the 71s in SGC, there are 0 10s, there are 2 9s, and there are 7 8.5s. So I have one of those 7 8.5s for my Ustrimski Run, and I'm super happy to have this as a part of my set and my PCs. This is a card I went back and forth with quite a bit, and as you can see, it's actually not an SGC card, it is a BVG. Again, 70 Topps is just an excruciatingly difficult set to buy raw and to try to find raw cards that are good enough to send in for grading. I think I bought about a dozen of these over the past year, just trying to find some that were gradable. I think I sent 4 in. Of the 4 that I sent in to SGC, I think the highest grade I got was a 7. The corners on this set are unbelievably difficult to get in good grade, or find sharp corners. Surface is another huge issue with this card because the paper is so soft. Just anything that touches it almost can damage it. And centering is also obviously an issue with this set as well. So I saw this BVG 8.5 and just thought it looked really clean, specifically when comparing it to some of the other stuff that was out there. I do think it has the eye appeal of an 8.5. I do question maybe these corners a little bit. They just have the slightest amount of white on them. I don't know that it would cross over to an 8.5 in a PSA or an SGC. I may try to send it in at some point just to see what their opinion is on it. But, I mean, just a super clean copy of that 70 Topps Ustrimski card, which is a classic. So I'm happy to have it, even if it's in the BVG slab. I would prefer in the SGC slab, obviously. So Maybe I'll pick up an SGC 85 one day, or maybe I'll just hang on to this one. Again, this is a great copy. I'm really excited to have it as a part of my run. If you're looking at SGC pops on this, there are 0.10s, there are 2 9s, and there are 15 8.5s. So there are a few out there. So yeah, that basically wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching and checking out my 70 Tops Ustrimski run. I'm really glad that I finally have it put together. It took me almost a year to get all these cards graded and slabbed and put together, which is crazy considering everything that's going on, but I'll take it. I am working on some new content, some new videos, some other things obviously as well if you check my social media channels. So if I don't see you guys beforehand, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Coda Collectibles out.